everybody. Welcome to Marvelous Monday and Dandelion Cottage. I'm Leslie Watkins, and I am going to show you how to make a cute little treat box today using the Snowflakes blender suite. So let's get started. So the suite has a lot of pieces to it. It's got the Snowflake Wishes stamp set, the winter, was it called? Winter Snow embossing folder, the so many snowflake dies. I have the blue adhesive backed gems. And let's see what else. I've got the Snowflake Splendor ribbon, which is very sparkly. Okay, and I'm going to be using Balmy Blue ink, and I'm also going to be using this die set, which is the little treat box, and I'm just using the box, and I've already cut that out ahead of time. And I think that's everything I'm using so far. So because there are some intricate pieces to this, and to save time, I've done a little bit of work before I started videoing. So let me show you what I've got. I've got my little treat box, which is cut out of Balmy Blue. And I have a piece of Whisper White. I'll zoom you in a little bit. I have a piece of Whisper White that I put through the embossing folder, and so it has these beautiful snowflakes on it. I like this very much. And this piece measures 1 5/8 wide by 3 7/8 long, and I've scored it at 1 3/4. And I've also gone ahead and I've cut out a number of these beautiful snowflakes out of the glimmer paper. Oh, I forgot to mention that. So the suite also comes with this beautiful Balmy Blue glimmer paper, and I think you can see that it is quite spectacular and very glimmery. Okay, and what's nice about this is that unlike glitter paper, it doesn't make a big mess when you cut it. Everything stays together, and it still has that wonderful effect. Very nice. All right, and so to cut out these little snowflakes in this So Many Snowflakes die set, there are quite a few. So let me just show you what you get in here. This is 8 different dies. So you can see they're very, very detailed. And I mean, this is, look at this big one. It's quite complex, very beautiful. But because the treat box is so small, I'm using this little one here, and this is the die that measures about, it's about 1 3/4 inches long at its widest point, and that fits the treat box perfectly. So I want to tell you a little story. Years ago, when I used to do botanical illustration in the early 80s, not a lot of people were on the computer. And at that time, there were some botanical artists scattered around the world and they were kind of isolated. There were no botanical groups to really connect them in any substantial kind of way. And if you were a botanical artist, you were kind of on your own. At that time, I lived in New York, and so I wasn't far from the botanical gardens in the Bronx. I'm just getting a piece of Whisper White out here. And they had a group of people that were starting to do painting botanical watercolors regularly. But mostly people were working in a vacuum. But then in the late 80s, people started getting computers and going online. And this amazing thing happened, which was that people all around the world that were interested in painting botanicals could now see what other people were doing, and they began to see the possibilities, and they began to learn from one another, and it just absolutely blossomed. And we had this kind of a renaissance of botanical painting. And now, 40 years later, we have a tremendous community of botanical painters and the American Botanical Society and all sorts of other things. But really it was because of the internet, I think, and it was that back and forth that people were able to see what other people were doing and get ideas and grow and get better, and it was an amazing blossoming. Well, that always impressed me. All these years later, even though I've been on the computer now for such a long time. But a very interesting thing happened to me recently that I think just really illustrates this point. And what that was if you remember a few weeks ago, where is it? Let me find it here. A few weeks ago, I made these little treat boxes. And let me zoom you in a little bit so you can get a better look. I made these little treat boxes, and this is very similar to the one that we're going to be making today. And you just open it up, and on the inside, this little squirrel popped out. Okay, so that was pretty cute, and I got a lot of wonderful response from everybody. Thank you so much. You really loved this little thing, and I did too. I thought it was pretty darn cute. And it's holding 2 Ghirardelli chocolate squares perfectly. So this was pretty popular on the internet, and not long after I posted the video, somebody tagged me on Instagram, and it was this lovely lady, Amiko, from Japan. And she had been inspired by this little box to go ahead and make a whole bunch of other Halloween boxes that had different mechanisms and things happening on the inside, and they were just wonderful. And I was so delighted to have my idea go around the world to Japan, where somebody was able to take my idea and be inspired to do something entirely different with it. And that is such a great pleasure and satisfaction when that happens. But today, better yet, I just recently saw a post that Amiko did on Instagram of a little snowflake card that she had a 3D pop-up using this Snowflake Splendor set. And so now she has inspired me right back again. And so based on her wonderful idea, and I'll show you what it looks like, she took these snowflake dies and cut out several of them and then assembled them to create this little 3D snowflake. And so you can put together as many as you like and get a beautiful little sparkly charm. Let's see if you can see this better like that. Okay? So you see how sweet that is. And she then took this snowflake that she created and she put it on the inside of a card so that when you opened up a card and folded it back on itself, this pretty little snowflake would pop up. So I decided to take her idea as inspiration and create another little treat box using it. So that's how inspiration works, and I'm just delighted to share this with you. So back to the little box here. We're going to dress it up a little bit. I also have some of the Snowflake DSP, and this is called, let's see, this is the Snowflake Splendor Designer Series paper. No surprise there. And so these pieces measure 1 5/8 by 2. And I'm just going to use 2 of these on the outside of the box. Let me get my better glue. There we go. I'm just getting that centered on there nicely. Now yesterday, the November edition of Notes went out. And if you're not on my mailing list, you don't want to miss this month's notes. It contains all of the information regarding the new watercolor card club that you can sign up for this month. It's very exciting. And also, I have a girls' night in with bingo at the end of the month, and I've got a couple of really fun card classes. One to help you get ready for Thanksgiving, and a couple based on Christmas. And one of them is a Christmas journal that will help you get organized in time for Christmas and contain all of your greeting card lists, your shopping lists, a calendar, recipes, and so forth and so on. So it's really cute. And if you want to learn more about those things, go to www.dandelioncottagedesign.com and subscribe to Notes. I just want to see which side I like better. I think I like this. And when you subscribe to Notes, I will send this out to you in the email. So it's not too late. Please do that today because registration does close on the 9th. All right, so I'm just assembling the box by putting a little bit of glue on the back panels. And I'm just going to flip that up and hold it for a minute. Now, if you have a B block, you can slip that in there, and that's going to fit perfectly so that you can give that a really good press. Okay? And then next, I'm going to put some glue here. And on here. And then I'm taking my pre-scored snowflake embossed paper. I'm just going to slip that into place. we go. And this snowflake embossing would look really nice on the shimmery white paper as well if you want to add a little bit of sparkle to it. Or you could use your Wink of Stella, and that would work as well. Give that a little bit of a burnish, help spread the glue around so it's nice and even with good adhesion. Okay, so there's the basis of our treat box. And what I've done is I've cut this so that this is flush with the edge of the box, so you don't see that little join there. I just think it looks a little bit more finished. Alrighty. And now for the fun part. So let's see what I've got here. I've cut out several little snowflakes, and I did a little bit of experimenting with this. So on this first one, I used 1, 2, 3, 4 snowflakes. To get this kind of a configuration, okay? And that was really pretty, but it was a bit much for this little box. So I wanted to reduce, So I wanted to reduce the amount of layers. So then I tried it again, this time with 3 snowflakes. And I like that better. That works better, I think. But I wanted to just give 2 a whirl and see what I thought of that, and to show you how you can do this too. So I'm going to get you even closer for this, because this is a little fiddly. You do have to take your time with this to avoid getting the glue all over. So I'm just removing some of these hanging chads from my snowflake. And I'm putting a tiny dot on 3 of the points. Okay, and then I'm just taking my nozzle and I'm just spreading that around a little bit. And you really need very little glue, hardly anything. So I don't even know if you can see that, but there's very little glue on there. All right, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to just line up my snowflakes back to back. Okay, oops. And then I'm going to pick up both at the same time and just make sure that these are all lined up. So only half of them, only 3 of these points are glued together now. And that looks pretty good. So I'm going to give that a little burnish. And then, oops, am I off camera? Sorry. All right, so then what I'm going to do is I'm folding the unglued half up so that these points meet with the others. I'll give that a gentle press. I'm not rubbing, I'm just pressing just to make sure that it's where it's supposed to be. All right, and then I'm going to flip it over and do exactly the same thing on the other side. Just gently, I'm gently squeezing it into position until I get it exactly where I want it. Then I'm giving it a good press. All right, so now this is what the two snowflakes look like together, and that's pretty good. All right, that's not bad at all. So let's just check that out. I don't want too much bulk in here. And I think that works just fine. I think that the 2 are sufficient. I think that maybe the 3 and certainly the 4 are just overkill. So I'm going to go with 2. And add my glue. And this is where you really want to take your time. I have a, where is it? Where is it? This could be helpful if I could find it. Here it is. I have a little tweezer here. And that can be useful for these very tiny pieces. So there is the glue on, oops, one side. And now I'm taking a piece of scrap paper and I'm just going to smooth that down a little bit. And just spread the glue onto the areas that I want it so it's not too oozy when I put it on my card. And I'm going to do the exact same thing on the opposite side. There we go. All right. Now, I'm grabbing it by the middle section, and I'm just going to center that nicely just like so. Give that a little bit of a press, holding that down. And there's our pretty snowflake on the inside there. Okay, and then I have this sentiment. It says, "Thank you so much." And what I'm going to do with this is I'm just going to trim it a tiny bit more. This is going to be kind of close. So let me start on the top here. When I trim it down, I'll tell you exactly what the measurement is. All right, so let's see what we've got here. This measures approximately 1.5 by, well, I would call it 1.5 by 1.5. This is just shy by 1/8 of an inch, but you could have gotten away with 1.5. And I want to find my ink pad, which has miraculously jumped away. Here it is. I'm going to give I'm going to give the edges a little bit of a sponging. Go. And also, I have at hand here these cute little adhesive-backed snowflakes, and these come in a package with 2 different colors. Let me just see if I can get this opened. I'm using the bluer ones. There's sort of a, I don't know how, they're both iridescent. So one has a little more pink in it, one has a little more blue in it. That's the one I'm using. And I'm going to add a dimensional on here. Get you out so you can see a little more. Okay. So I'm just going to go around the corners of my sentiment with the scraps left over from my dimensionals. Put that right in there. So there's our little sentiment, and I'm going to take these, let's see, I'm just going to put a couple of these snowflakes for a little bit of sparkle, and I'm putting them right over the embossed ones on the paper, just in the middle. And I'll put 3 on top. Okay, and then I'll just add 1 down here. So that's the inside of our box, and I can put the chocolates inside and close that up. Now on the outside I want to add 1 more snowflake, one of the sparkly ones. I'm just going to add my dots of glue all around. And using my tweezer again, get that situated. Just going to hold that for a moment. Okay, and then I'm going to add one of these very beautiful large gems to the front. And finally, my ribbon to hold it closed. So before I shut it, there is the, can you see that sparkle? Very sparkly. And then it opens up to have that pretty snowflake in our sentiment. And of course you could put any sentiment in there that you'd like. And the part of what makes this ribbon so iridescent is I think it has some metallic fibers in it, which means that you can really mold it to pretty much any shape you like. So you can make a great big bouffant bow, which I think is what I'm going to do. There we go. Give that a little bit of a tug. Okay, there you have it. The little snowflake treat box. Okay, so I hope you enjoyed that. Remember to subscribe to DandelionCottageDesign.com so that you can get your latest issue of Notes. It just came out last night, and there's all sorts of information in there about some really exciting upcoming classes and chances to win prizes, the watercolor card club, and more. So I'd love to have you subscribe so I can share these things with you. Stay well, stay creative, and I'll see you the next time. There we go. Bye.